غرباء غرباء غرباء.
Let the language speak for itself. Language has metaphors. Language has symbols. Language has all of this, right? So we have to allow the language to understand the meaning when it has that meaning, right? When for example, say, one of the things Muslims also often will say, no, we have to take it literally, and only literally. There's a place in the Quran, Allah says, the Jewish people say, Allah's hands are tied. And Allah says, no, His hands are outstretched. He provides, He's so generous, He's provided. Yeah? I'm just giving a summary of this. The intended meaning is not that Allah is saying literally, the literally hands are tied. The meaning in context is to do with that He's generous or not. Allah says, no, His hands are outstretched and He provides, He's generous.
Yeah.
So the literal meaning can be true,
Okay.
but the intended meaning is not actually this is talking about Allah's hands. It's talking about Allah and His generosity. Yeah? So likewise, when Allah talks about certain things, we need to know really when it says Allah created the heavens and the earth. Now, why are we going to say this is figurative? Actually, there was no creation. When Allah says He created Adam, why are we going to take it figuratively? Allah says, okay, I created Adam, I fashioned him, breathed into him the spirit, he became alive, and so on. So there are people who take it figuratively because they have their ideological standpoint and say, I don't want to believe that because I don't believe Adam was created, because I believe in evolution, and there is no Adam. That's why people try to shift the meaning to figurative, and vice versa, right? Something can happen. But we have a specific way of dealing with the text.
But there's no way of changing that line to make it seem figurative. Like, there's no way you can be like, He breathed life into him figuratively. There's no way you can do that.
Yeah.
People definitely don't do that.
No, I
So
agree with
you
you.
have to imply
There's a limit
he
to
was
where
created
you
like
can
that.
say that.
You have to admit that he was created like that, which doesn't make much
Sure.
sense.
So now let's talk about, when you talk about science, we were talking about scientific phenomena in the Quran, right? When Allah says He created the seven heavens, what is your understanding that you think it's debatable, it's vague, it's wrong?
Like, that doesn't, like, I don't even know what to start with that.
Okay, now let's understand that. Is it wrong?
I mean, it's debatable.
No, let's
I don't know if it's wrong because, like, you
Good.
don't know if heaven exists.
No,
So
no, what is heaven?
Heavens exist. Like,
What is heaven in
depends
that
on
description?
depends on what you think it is.
No, what is heavens in the description?
Yeah.
Samawat, anything beyond this earth is sama. And samawat is the plural of sama.
Yeah.
Skies. Because people think heaven means paradise. But we're talking about the earth and anything beyond the earth.
Yeah.
Skies and celestial bodies, all of that. So when Allah says He created the skies, the earth and the skies, seven skies or seven heavens, when you say it's either wrong, debatable or vague, let's deal with that. Is it wrong?
Seven skies? I don't know if it's wrong. So.
How can you know it's wrong? You didn't even know how breadth of the first sky is. The first heaven.
I don't know if it's wrong or not. So
Yeah, you cannot say it's wrong.
I didn't say it was wrong.
No, I'm saying
I said
when
that
it,
I
not
said
you
it was wrong.
personally.
I don't know.
Not you personally. If somebody categorizes, it falls into either of these three areas. Either it's vague or wrong or debatable, and didn't give an option saying it's astonishing, it's correct, only leaving those aside.
I mean, I said most. Remember, I said most, and I said most of the time it's one of the three. And obviously,
Could there be a description where it's correct?
probably,
Could there be a description where it's astonishingly correct?
probably.
Yeah. Okay, so there's not only three, there's a few
Yeah, there's
options.
probably a few more, but to me, it's one of the three most of the time.
Yeah. So, when it comes to the Quran, do you find something difficult in the Quran that it describes a natural phenomena?
I mean, I'm more used to looking at the Bible than this. I haven't really.
I cannot speak for the Bible. You have to
I
speak to a
haven't,
Christian
I
about
haven't
that.
really read the Quran up until the start of Sunday. And like, I've heard a lot of Muslim friends in my school, so they talk about some kind of stuff on the book. I don't really like some of the stories. I know there's a lot of Old Testament stuff in there.
What you mean, there are stories which are similar to what we find in the Old Testament?
There's a lot of similar stuff in there, and apparently my friend said that they believe in a lot of the Old Testament some of it was corrupt, and that some of it's not actually true, and the Quran seeks to correct. And I obviously you don't know if they're wrong or not. You don't know when to begin knowing if they're wrong or not. They just you claim that some of the Old Testament stuff is wrong. You say it's true. There's a lot. I think there's a Cain and Abel recreation in there. Not into which I don't see how that could happen because first of all the creation story is a bit weird because you have man being made from clay, which the Quran can't even get right. They say one of them says it's clay, one of them says one of the bits says it's a cloth, one of it says it's a different kind of thing. There's definitely some contradiction in there, but I don't know.
Let's talk about that one. Because you use the word contradiction. You seem to be quite confident that this is not quite correct.
I mean, one of them says you were made from a cloth, and one of them says you were made from clay, which can't be really true. Both of them can't be true.
Maybe you misunderstood what it says.
Right.
So when it talks about the creation of man, the Quran often talks about the creation of the first man, Adam, or it talks about the creation of his progenies, the progenies. So Allah says He began the creation of man from clay. So He's talking about the first man, not talking about you and me. Okay? So you and I were not created from clay. Not necessarily clay. The Quran describes what type of clay it is, and from the quintessence, the very extract, purified portion of that. Now, what is a clay human beings are made of? I mean, science hasn't come to a stage where we can understand that. We can only think and link that there's elements that we find in our body, whether it's minerals, whether it's some proteins, things that constituents of, and what you find the constituents within the earth and the clay, right? You can find similarities. We will come to a point where
you can use that for everything else. You can say that a man was made from a rock. You can say he was made from a tree bark or something. And you can still use that on being like you find it in the earth, therefore he was created by it.
So
you can use that for everything.
Whatever you use, the question is when the Quran says about quintessence, an extract purified portion of that substance that the first man is made from. Now you can't say scientifically it's wrong because the elements are actually there, present.
Yes.
Okay? So the question now arises, does the Quran contradict itself when it talks about in various places he was created from nothing, he was created from water, he was created from a clinging substance or cloth, as you say, he was created from the fluid of a human being, whether it's mani or nutfa. Yeah? So if you look at it, none of these are contradictory. When it comes to clay, it's referring to the first human being. Allah says, "Bada khalq al-insan min tin." He began the creation of man from tin, which is clay, from mud. Yep. Then he says, ثُمَّ جَعَلَ نَسْلَهُ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ مَاءٍ مَهِينٍ. The various ayahs of the Quran like this. Then he actually got his progenies from the fluid, despised fluid from there. So that's one thing. Other times Allah says, have you not heard when man was not even worthy of mention? Okay, was there not a time when man was not even mentioned? Okay? As if like man was nothing. Okay? But that doesn't talk about Allah created from man from nothing. And at one point man was not even in existence. Then Allah created man. It doesn't mean Allah created from nothing. When Allah says He created from a clinging substance or something that hangs or something that like a congealed blood, okay, this is describing a process of creation. When man is created, when you look at a specific phase of human creation, there are a day 21 to 28 days of the human embryo. It looks like a substance which looks like a leech, which is clinging.
I mean, it isn't. It's more inside. It's more inside the thing. So you have the.
Have you seen a leech?
So you have the uterus lining. The embryo is more inside it rather.
No, I'm talking about a specific from day 21 to 27. At that point, how does the embryo look like? You've got the embryo. I may have some pictures. And the embryo, I have the embryo stalk that is connected to the embryo itself. How does it look like a leech? I'm saying the embryo looks like this leech and it functions like this leech. Even the internal anatomy looks like a leech. When you open it and you will see what we call the somites, they resemble like the teeth marks. It sucks, it actually clings to the mother's internal lining.
What is the purpose to it?
Sucks in nutrition. This is what leeches does. Clings somewhere and sucks in blood for its nutrition. So functionally and morphologically, the way it looks like a leech. Now you might say, oh, what's so special about it? They may have known it. A day 21 embryo, which looks like this, functions like this, is not visible to the naked eye. So then you will say, oh, that looks astonishing. So it's not vague, it's actually quite precise. It's a precise or a concise word choice. A word that describes the morphology and the function. I mean, the appearance and the function of something. Before that, it says he created from nutfa.
My problem is that doesn't specifically say
It doesn't say day 128. When the Quran says he created human beings from a nutfa, then that, a short description, the words or letters that are used, the conjunction which says a slow process or a fast process. Fa means quite fast, thumma means slower, and it goes from nutfa to alaqa to mudgha to idam to lahm, and then all this, 6 or so steps of the process of creation, khalqan min ba'di khalq, creation after creation, one after the other, how did one transform into one phase to another phase. And this is what we see when we learn about embryology, that we see the transformation of this transforming and developing, it's constantly changing.
I know, but that's not really specific enough.
It's not vague.
It's not specific enough.
What's not specific enough?
There's no I hate to be this specific, but I hate to claim so much of it. Because obviously there's a lot of religions out there. And there's a lot of religions out there. And like Islam prides itself on its predictability.
Not necessarily.
It does. I've heard a lot of it.
Predictability, I mean, maybe another strong argument. Islam is more to do with the, some what we call self-evident truth of its claim.
Yep.
The claim of Islam, the primary claim you can say, is the linguistic evidence for the Quran that it is inimitable. And you cannot imitate this Quran coming down or sent to a man who was unlettered, known among the people, and then bringing a revelation, this literature, well, if you want to call it a religious literature, which is totally unparalleled, unmatched, that they cannot even match. They were masters in the Arabic language. They used to hang the best poem in the wall of the Kaaba. This is a celebrated thing for them. And yet, when this unlettered person never learned any of this poetry or their ways of speaking, and then he brings this revelation and says this is revelation from God, which they find it very eloquent, very meaningful, and then they're not able to imitate it, which is challenging them. If you think it's not from God, this is what you have to do, bring a chapter like unto it, and they are unable to. So, who am I going to give to answer, brother? Do you mind answering that?
I hate to be that specific, but like for me to believe that as a really good prediction worth the model, it has to be really, really specific.
But this is not prediction.
It has that. It's not obviously, it's not prediction. It's describing how things obviously always work. So if we're saying that it's constant law, that's explaining it. I mean, for me to believe that as word of God inspired or something, you have to give me like some kind of everyday account for what transitions from clinging to being inside to developing, stuff like that. Like that would be a lot more useful. But like stuff like that is not really that specific in terms of like day counts. Because obviously science does this pretty well, right? Science does this pretty well. They can use temporal guidelines when things happen. They can give specific mechanisms for that when that would happen. The Quran doesn't really do that, but obviously because it's pretty old, they wouldn't have that information. And that's why I'm saying.
This is where I would disagree. Let's take step by step. First thing you said about contradiction, that's what made me think, okay, let's park on this thought and discuss this in detail. When you talk about predictions, we come to predictions of the Quran. When you say this doesn't seem very appealing, it doesn't seem to be very detailed, I would disagree profoundly. Let's talk about the subjects. When the Quran says that He created human beings from both male and female, from a nutfa that is emitted, and He programmed what is male and female from the emission of a man, that is very profound, because the belief, what was the belief from science and scientists at that time? They believed in several models of human procreation or human generations. Either pre-formation theories, whether you are in a man's sperm or in a woman's ovum, right? Like you're on the sperm, fully human being, but in a miniature form, and you became bigger and bigger and bigger. They used to believe this even to the 17th century. When Van Leeuwenhoek just made up this microscope, which is very at that time very basic microscope. But even then, they claim they actually saw the human being in a sperm like this, in the tail, and fully human being in a very miniature form developed. Now we know this is all forgery and fake. They didn't even see that. But they believed in that. Quran says no, you need both man and a woman, and they both contribute, and it's a man's contribution that makes the sex of the embryo. And it talks about how human beings are created, creation after creation. So it's not about like you're static, but it's actually transformation of creation. But they used to be pre-form, and then menstrual blood comes in, like the Bible says, and then it somehow catalyzes this, and it becomes bigger. Okay, this is one of the models. Quran seems to go against these models, and it gives you a picture which is scientifically correct today, and it's not debatable or disputable.
From that one line that says like.
No, this is not one line. This is the misunderstanding again. Quran talks about in various places how He created in creation after creation in 3 layers of darknesses. Okay? Right? Three layers of darknesses. The most levels of darknesses are you have the stomach here, and then the uterine wall, and the unuterine. There are these layers of darknesses where the embryo is situated inside. Look. This is
very,
just
very vague.
But that's not what I'm saying. I mean, you need to understand that I am not saying this is the miraculousness of choice. I am talking about when the Quran says creation after creation, created in successive stages. That seems to go against the norm of societal understanding then. So that's impressive. So Quran is talking about something that is quite impressive during its time, because now we know this is the case. It wasn't the case then. When the Quran describes in detail, now if it describes, it's a gastral, it's a morula, it's a blastocyst, do you know what they are?
No, but
right.
But
If I told you this is how the process is, you'll get confused yourself now in 21st century. Which day is it today? 5th of August 2018. You get confused if the Quran describes. So you'd expect Allah to describe it in the Quran in a terms that people don't get confused, even on the 7th century. Yeah.
But
so what are the descriptions?
It's still very vague in terms of
that's the claim you're making. Let's deal with this subject.
It is vague.
But I'm going to show you that it's not vague. Okay, let me allow you to develop it. So when the Quran says that Allah created man from nutfa, the word nutfa is like something like a drop-like formation, drop-like. So whatever remains from the bucket, a drop. So if you have in your hair a lot of water and it's dribbling and dropping, that amount of drop, that's called a nutfa, right? Drop. So within itself, word nutfa, there seems to be a connotation of like a drop, something like a spherical appearance of it. And that's what we know of the first appearance of when the egg and the sperm meet and they start forming a fertilized product. Okay? That stage in the Quran and Yusuf, it actually feels like this. This is what it is. It actually looks like a drop. So that is not vague, that is quite very precise. Now, can you actually see a human embryo when it's a drop-like stage? You can't see it in a microscope. So to call it like it's like a very spherical drop-like stage is very precise, not vague, because you could have been something like this, elongated like this. You could have used the word like this, right? It didn't use that. It used the word something like that, elongated like the shape of a leech in the step later. From this nutfa came alaqa, and alaqa is described something elsewhere like having the appearance of teeth marks. Mudgha later like a chewed substance, and this is what we see. I mean, these are like microscopic, and then you can see that this formation of embryo, the appearance looks like that. So you were saying this man may have been really a person just opening up babies, but you can't see them anyway if you even open up kind of. So the descriptions that are given, which in a layman's term, that oh yeah, it looks like a mark of a teeth there. This is how it looks like with somites. I'm giving you terms. I mean, next time I should bring pictures. Right? It will take time to put it up, but that's how they are. And then it says partly formed, partly unformed. And we know in one of those steps when it says this is when the hearts are developing, but the other parts are not. So exact stage of description when the human embryo goes into a formation where some of it is formed and some of it is forming. And this is what the Quran describes. And then how this is then becoming engulfed with flesh. So the bones are forming and the clothes then engulf this bone. And this is what happens. You have the ligaments forming and the muscles form and touch these ligaments, and muscles engulf and clothe the bones.
Yeah,
and then it creates another creation after that, because what happens after that stage, the human beings straighten up from this very curved structure to very straight and so on, and development of everything else is like another creation. And this is how the Quran describes. So even though it's using terminology which is understood by a layperson and to a professor of embryology, the description is very precise. So Quran is not claiming that, oh, this is something a proof for itself. What the Quran is actually saying on those verses, you doubt that God will resurrect you in the day of resurrection? Consider this. He created you like this, and He will recreate you again. So He's showing that this is how He created you. Would it be difficult for Him to create again if He tells this is how I've made it? Now we know this is how the human beings are actually developing within their womb of a mother in these processes. So if someone is able to describe that this is exactly how it's done, then I know that person clearly knows how he's done it, and he's going to do it again, showing the ability of God. So not to show somehow some people think, oh, God is teaching you science. No, God is addressing a particular argument. People are saying, what? When we are dead and rotten bones, we're going to resurrect to be again? God is saying, yes, even to the very tips of your fingers. Another argument provided. What's so special about the tips of your fingers?
That was used. I think that line was used to. I think that line was mentioned when people are in hell and stuff, and they're burning, and they said that I've heard this is guy on YouTube who this is people on YouTube who said that the Quran predicted like pain receptors and fingers and stuff because when you're in hell, it says in the Quran that when the skin goes off, they'll make you more skin to make you feel the pain again. Like not only is that pretty like ridiculous in and of itself, like that's pretty cool in and of itself.
That's the idea. It's
like,
actually quite cruel, meaning it's a horrible punishment that we should avoid. That's the idea. They can infer that the Quran predicted pain receptors from adding skin to make you feel pain again. But like if you hurt yourself, you can feel anyone.
This is too much.
You can obviously like
I can't hear nothing. Maybe it's the headphone? I don't know.
What you're dealing with again, with strawman argument, people making claims.